Hello, WIAL friends. I am Peter Collier from Thailand. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you this year at the conference, but I will share in this video a few thoughts and insights that I hope will be useful for all of us. Now, the conference is about different themes around well-being, burnout, etc., etc. I will focus in my short talk here on one particular aspect because these are complex themes or topics. I will focus on the people we work with. I believe that the people we work with, the small team we are a member of, or the small team that we lead, can help to a large extent to have a positive work experience and therefore a positive, more in general, life experience. Or on the contrary, the team we work with, the team we are part of, can have a negative impact on our work and therefore on our life in general. So my focus is on the teams we work with. Now, those of you who are familiar with action learning, you will know that one of the benefits we attribute to action learning is a high performance team. We say that action learning helps to build, to create a high performance team. And I have always, for a very long time, observed that. When you do an action learning session, you feel not right at the beginning, but after a while or after a number of sessions, you really feel that the connections between the members change for the better. People start to pay more attention, to really ask questions and listen to the others, build on others' ideas, look out for the competencies that others are practicing and give peer feedback about that. One anecdote I often like to give is that when you finish an action learning session, very often the members actually continue to talk. Even if you say the session is over, this was it, thank you very much, people actually continue to talk. The way they connect has really changed. Now, for a very long time, that was kind of a qualitative observation that I had, and I think many other coaches have. Until some time ago, I came across, I think, the model, the measurement tool that helped me to move from the qualitative and anecdotal evidence to measurable results. And that model is team psychological. So I discovered team psychological safety some time ago when I did my PhD research. And from the start, when I read and studied about it, I felt already there was a very good connection with action learning. And so I started to measure team psychological safety in the teams I worked with action learning. And then I did a number of action learning sessions, and then I measured team psychological safety again. And I was positively surprised and happy to see that there was a clear improvement in the level of psychological safety in those teams. And I've published those results, and you can easily find them, or I can share the article later. So my gut feeling that team psychological safety was really an indicator of how the team works better together and how action learning can positively impact that. That was really the start. And I then went much more in depth of team psychological safety. And today in this very short session, I want to give you the key insights, the key elements of that model. Now, the first thing is very important to identify team psychology. Psychological safety, which is what most people talk about, has become a little bit of a buzzword. And many people talk about it, write about it, and are pretty loose when it comes to the definition. I am very strict when it comes to the definition, and I talk only about team psychological safety. And I use the definition that was created by Professor Edmondson from Harvard, who coined the term for the first time in 1999. And she developed a very rigorous research that I'm still using today as the basis of my model. So her definition of team psychological safety, it is the shared belief by the members of the team that the team is safe for interpersonal risk taking. So it's about taking risks with other people in the team. It is work related. It is not really applicable, in my view, to the world at large or to maybe other situations. It's specific to the team we work with and how the team reacts when people in that team take these interpersonal risks. Interpersonal risks means doing things with others that you're not sure about the outcome. You hope for the best, but things can actually backfire. An example is very simple, and we know this very well in action learning, is asking a question. If somebody asks a question, the team can react in a positive way, say, okay, Peter, why do you ask that? Or, what's not clear about you? Or the team can react in a negative way to say, well, how can you ask a question like that? Don't you know that? This is obvious, etc., etc. An example of positive team psychological safety and an example of negative team psychological safety. And Edmondson's research really, and this will be music to the ear of action learning coaches, Edmondson's research demonstrated that team psychological safety is a key driver for team learning, for the team to learn, and that team learning in turn leads to team performance. And of course, action learning is all about learning. We make it very explicit. So this model of team psychological safety really fits very well with what we do in action learning. We want to build a high-performance team. For that, the team needs to learn. And the key, and that was for me the missing part until I discovered it about 10 years ago. And the key to team learning, to make that team learning happen, is team psychological safety. So Edmondson, in her research, defined team psychological safety, as I just shared with you. And she also proposed a way to measure team psychology by asking 7 questions. Actually, they're not questions, by giving 7 statements to the members of a team to answer on a Likert scale, to answer on a scale from I completely disagree to I disagree to I somewhat disagree, all the way to I completely agree. So these 7 statements, I have transformed them to talk about them more easily into elements. I call these the 7 elements of team psychological safety, and you can see them here in this visual. The vertical bars from the left to the right show the 7 elements, the 7 behaviors, because they are behaviors around which we will measure team psychological safety. So when I measure team psychological safety with a team, I will ask anonymously through a survey how each of the members rates those 7 statements. And we will, from that, create a map. This is an example of an actual map of those 7 elements. And you can see 2 axes. The horizontal axis is the average. Basically, the higher the score, the rating, the more that element shows up to the right of the axis. So if everybody in the team says, we completely agree, we agree to some extent, that means the average goes to the right hand of the axis, which is a green area, the higher the better. If the team members answer low, maybe they say, I disagree, I completely disagree, that will make that element shows up to the left of the axis towards the red zone. The vertical axis is a little bit different. The vertical axis is the standard deviation. This is to indicate the degree to which the different members of the team agree, have the same point of view, or have a very different point of view. If everybody says, I agree, or even I agree somewhat, but everybody says the same, it is clear that this is a shared belief in this team because everybody values it at the same way, rates it at the same. So that's an example of where the standard deviation will be low. Now, the vertical axis is a little bit special because we show the lowest value at the top and the highest value at the bottom. So when we go to the green zone, that means lower standard deviation. And the opposite of the axis, the bottom of the axis, the red zone, is when there is a higher standard deviation. And that is in the case where some members of the team say, I completely disagree with this statement, and other members of the same team say, I completely agree with this statement. There is a big dispersion, there is a lack of alignment, so there is not a shared belief by the members. So this is a bit of a technical explanation of how we create the traffic light chart, where we map all the 7 elements from the red zone to the orange zone to the green zone. And obviously the green zone is the team's strength, the orange zone is somewhere in the middle, and the red zone is the team, let's say, improvement point. Those elements where we have the combination of kind of a low average and kind of a high standard deviation. To complete the model, I also want to add the bottom of the model. We have, Edmondson calls this antecedent, which is the academic term for foundations or causes. What causes team psychological safety to be like this or in a different way? And so you can read them on the horizontal graph. They are supportive organization, trust and respect, leader behavior, team dynamics, and finally, practice. In practice, for example, this is actually a good one. So practice is the extent to which the team can practice becoming a better team. When we look at sports teams, it's clear sports teams practice all the time, or music groups. But when it comes to work in an organization, we don't really practice. We don't really practice how we can get better as a team, except when it comes to action learning. Action learning has exactly these reflections at the end about what did we do well, what could we do better. And then the next session, the team will hopefully improve in that area. So this is the model of team psychological safety as proposed by Professor Edmondson. And again, I think it is the missing piece when it comes to action learning, where we talk about team learning and team performance, but the missing piece here is team psychological. So what I do is I measure team psychological safety. We create the traffic light chart. We do a number of action learning sessions, and then we measure again the same 7 elements with the same survey, and we compare before and after. And so that's where I really had the insight some time ago that action learning has a very profound and strong and measurable impact on team psychological safety. So for me, this is the biggest evidence that action learning is really not just in an anecdotal way or in a qualitative way, but in a measurable way, that action learning is the key to develop high-performance teams, because it creates team learning and it impacts team psychological. I've been working with this model now for about 8 years. We have applied it to more than 400 teams. We did the survey with more than 400 teams in the world in different countries, including Brazil. And the results are very rewarding. And it is a powerful model, because very often we tell teams to work better together, to improve collaboration, to communicate better. But there is not really a very clear pathway, a very clear approach to help them with that. And in my experience, when I propose the survey and the survey results, and then the model to teams, they always see it as very powerful, because it's both simple and practical. It's just that team, it's not the whole organization. It's just that team with their answers on the 7 elements. And so I've been working with this model and in a very rewarding way. Very often people who sign up for the team psychological safety certification program or action learning coaches. Or what happens now also is that people who are not familiar with action learning, but they join the team psychological safety certified practitioner program, they hear about action learning from other team people in the same cohort, and then they become interested to get certified as action learning coach. So a super big synergy between action learning and team psychology. So if you're interested, feel free to look me up and we can continue the conversation. I hope this was useful on the specific topic of working with others, which can be a challenge in some organizations. Fortunately, there's also many very positive teams around, but sometimes when we do the survey, we get very sad results, in the sense that people don't get along. The measurements are actually pretty low. So that for me is one part of what we call mental health or well-being or work-life balance. It is only one part. It's only about the team we work with part. And there's other elements that impact these complex social phenomena. But at least I think when it comes to teams and working with the team, this gives a solid structure to how we can move forward, how we can do better. I hope this was useful, and feel free to reach out to continue the discussion, and all the best for the conference. Take care.